Santa María, Madre del Cielo, santificado sea tu nombre. Santa María, Madre de Dios.
Luz y progreso, honor and respects. This is your host, Sancista Brujo Luis. Summer is finally here. So, gonna let you all know that I'm gonna shorten down my videos just a little bit shorter. You know, it's summertime. Nobody but wants to be inside watching YouTube videos for too long. So I'm gonna try to shorten out videos to at least 10 to 15 minutes during the summertime and keep the videos as light as possible. But I'm going to try to dedicate at least one video per week for you all, my subscribers. Today's video is titled, well, I don't even know what I'm going to title this video, but it's a personal story, not for me, but for one of my clients that I want to relay. But before I do relay this video, I want to give you just a little bit of teach or educate you something on the sacredness of trees within our traditions. Trees have been honored and venerated from our ancient ancestors. All our ancient ancestors honored and venerated trees. Okay, they did. And most world religions has a sacred tree associated to it, which we still see within their religious stories, their mythologies, their spiritual tales and teachings. And so you will see the tree mentioned in all religions. And we can talk about this by observing, okay, the Celtics, the ancient Celtics or the ancient Druids, they viewed the oak tree as being sacred. The people from Norway or the Norse, they viewed the holly tree as being sacred. Ancient Hindus or Hinduism still today view the papal tree as sacred and holy. In Western Africa or some of the Western African countries, I know that the Iroko tree is very sacred and they view that as a sacred tree, as a spirit. In Northern Africa, there are some countries that honor the banyan tree. In Buddhism, we have the Bodhi tree, of course, and in Christianity, there is the fig tree or the ficus religioso or religiosa. Ficus religiosa, I think that's the Latin name. So you will see trees mentioned and honored in most world religions. Now, trees were also sacred in North America, Central America, and South America as well. In North America, many of the Native Americans of the North, many of them honored the maple tree. The maple tree was very sacred to some tribes of North America, and then each tribe had their own sacred tree. And in the South, South America, Central America, and into the Caribbean, the sacred tree is La Ceiba or El Ceiba. That is the most sacred tree within our culture till today. Okay. And it's venerated in traditions such as Santeria, Palo, Umbanda, Kimbanda, Sanse, 21 Division, Voodoo. So we venerate La Ceiba, the ceiba tree, which is called the silk cotton tree. Trees in our cultures and in many cultures are viewed as temples or sacred groves or sacred areas where we go to honor spirits, especially in the forests or on the woodlands. And I just mentioned that the ceiba tree is one of the most sacred trees for us, the Hispanic population, and in Brazil and in Haiti. In Haiti, the spirit is known as Gramboa. Gramboa is a loa, the loa of the forest or the trees, and often it is the biggest tree within the forest. Now, how do you find out if the tree, well, first of all trees have spirits. Every single tree has a spirit, but there is one certain tree that is the king of the forest or the lord of this area. And usually it is the biggest tree within the forest of this certain location, or if the tree has 7 branches that stick out This is viewed for us Latinos as a santo, a saint, a divinity, a deity, or an angel. And we believe that this is a temple where we can connect with our ancestors by the roots, and our divinities, our saints, and our angels by the branches that reach up. So if a tree has 7 branches, for us, we view that as being a santo or a saint. Okay, we call it un santo. So all trees have spirits, and in Hispanic or Spanish, we use the word driada, driadas or amadriadas. That comes from the Greek word dryads or hamadryads. Driadas or dryads are the tree, the spirit of the tree itself. The spirit of the tree itself is a driada, and hamadriada is a spirit that lives within the grove or lives within the forest, but takes residence within a certain tree. And then we also use the word duende in Spanish culture. We believe that each tree has a duende. A duende in English would be the equivalent of a gnome or an elf in English. But they are earth elemental spirits that reside within trees. So we use the terms driadas, amadriadas, and duendes to classify these types of spirits. So as I've mentioned, trees or sacred groves are temples where we go to honor the trees or honor our spirits, our saints, our divinities. And many times when we want to sanctify a tree, we will place a white ribbon around that tree to symbolize that this tree is a sacred temple or a sacred place for us, people who are spiritual, to honor our spirits and to leave our offerings at the foot of this tree. So you will see in Hispanic Brazil, in Latin America, in the Caribbean, when we find that sacred tree, we decorate it with a ribbon. Usually it's a white ribbon, and oftentimes you will see offerings of liquor, small liquor bottles hanging from the branches. And sometimes you will see people, they will tie ribbons on the tree, they will tie handkerchiefs on the tree, and it's treated as a sacred place. Offerings are often left on the foot of the tree. Whenever you come across this tree or any of these trees, you must treat this tree with great respect. And we do not disrespect these trees. We shouldn't disrespect trees, period. But these specific trees, we have much respect for. So most of my followers have asked me, what do I do with my offerings? It depends on who the offering is for. But most of my offerings that I give to my saints or my ancestors or my spirit guides, after I have finished giving the offering, I bring it to a tree and I leave it by el tronco, the trunk of the tree. Okay, some people bring their offerings to a cemetery, some people bring the offerings to a lake, a river, the ocean, a cemetery, a cave. Okay, depending, each offering, it depends on what the work is for, or now if you come across an offering by a tree, you should never touch it. I've already mentioned that. It's so sacred. You don't know. Okay, so you should leave that alone. People have asked me, can people use, or do people use trees for magic? Yes, people have used trees to curse an enemy. So if you see offerings by a burnt tree or a tree that was struck by lightning, and you see offerings there, often that tree is to cause harm. If you see an offering by a tree where maybe someone committed murder, someone might have hung themselves, that is also used for black magic. And trees that are by cemeteries are often used, not always, but often used to curse or to bring the downfall of an enemy. Okay, a lot of people ask me that, so I want to explain offerings, not always, but many times, when it is for a positive, just for positive or for good, the offerings are left at the trunk of the tree, and often people go around the tree around noon, 12 noon, clockwise 12 times. This is supposedly we believe that this awakens the tree from its slumber to cause harm. Many necromancers, many brujos, they go to the foot of the tree either at midnight or I'm talking about a saber tree at midnight or around 3 o'clock, which is the devil's hour, the witch's hour and the devil's hour, and they leave the offerings or the sacrifice. Many times sacrifices are done at the trunk of the tree, and they commit the sacrifice, or they leave the offering, or they place their black magic or their curse by the trunk of the tree, and they go counterclockwise 12 times. This is to awaken the rage of the spirit to cause mischief or harm to a person. So let me get to the story, because I know that this is getting longer than what I wanted this to go. So a few years ago, I had a client who called me, and he had told me that him and his father, now he is Puerto Rican. This client of mine was Puerto Rican. Now, first of all, if you are Puerto Rican, if you're Haitian, if you're Jamaican, if you're anyone from the Caribbean, you know that if you come across a tree with any offerings, flowers, images of saints, candies, coins, bottles of liquor, you do not touch that, okay? You do not disrespect that, okay? That's a big no-no. So anyways, my client had called me a few years ago, and he told me that he was with his father. They had gone, he was living in Florida at the time, and they had gone into this place, this wooded area, and one thing he told me is that he sent me a picture. I remember he sent me a picture that there was a tree where someone was doing black magic, and there was a sacrificial animal left by the tree. I think it was like a chicken or a rooster. I don't remember the story, but it was something like that, a sacrificial animal. So anyways, on this occasion, he told me that him and his father had gone into the woods. He brought his elderly father into the forest, just to have a day with his father, to connect with his father, when they came across this ceiba tree. And on this ceiba tree, at the root or at the trunk of the ceiba tree, there was an offering, okay? And in between one of the crevices of the ceiba, there was an image of a saint, okay? And don't remember what saint it was, but I remember him telling me that the legs of the saint were severed off. They were cut off. So it was just the body of the saint with no legs. So his father, feeling bad for that image of the saint, took the saint and he brought it home. Of course, his son, my client at the time, was not happy that his father did this, was telling his father, don't do this, leave that where it is, and his father refused to listen. So anyways, my client calls me, and my client listen, my father, he told me this, he relayed the story to me, and I said to him, listen, you guys just disrespected something. You don't know why that saint was placed there. You don't know if it was, first of all, if it was good for bad. It doesn't matter what it was for. Any offering that is placed by a tree, you know that in our culture, in our custom, we do not touch that. That is disrespectful, okay? It's taboo. It's a big taboo. You just don't touch that. Please tell your father to bring this back. His father refused. His father literally felt bad for the saint. It was an image of a saint that had no legs. The legs were severed off. And so I said, okay, let me speak to your father. He places his father, and I tried my best to relate to the father, listen, you should bring this back to the tree. You don't know if someone was doing brujeria, someone was doing black magic. We don't know what that was for, and you should not have disrespected that or touched that in any way. The father refused to listen to me, and he said, no, I'm going to keep the saint. I cannot leave that saint there. There was no way I could make this man listen. So then, of course, he puts on the son goes back on the phone, and I said, listen, you've got to get some way to bring this saint back to the tree. And I'm going to call you in a few days. Just make sure you get this saint back to that tree, okay? And then you make an offering and you cleanse your hands, okay? A couple of days had passed, and I called him and I said, okay, what happened? He said, listen, I can't get the saint. My father refuses to let go of this saint. I'm like, oh my God, this is not good. Week passed, and his wife calls me. My client's wife calls me, and she said, listen, I'm going to call him Jose. She said, listen, Jose is in the hospital. I said, what do you mean Jose is in the hospital? She said, yes, his legs started swelling up when he was at work to the point where he could not walk. They were doing tests and they were doing tests, whatever they do in hospitals, and they couldn't find no reason why his legs were swelling up to the point where this man could not walk. And I remembered, I said, please, can I talk to your husband? And he was in the hospital, and she put him on. And I said, listen, Jose, you have to bring this back. And what shocked me the most was he said to me, you think it's really the tree? You think it's really that offering? I'm like, yes, if the doctors can't find out why this is happening to you, brother, you just picked up esa maldición. You just, if it wasn't even a maldición is a malediction. Even if it was an offering, he should not have touched that. He brought that into your house and you absorbed that, okay? So I get back to he puts on his wife. He couldn't believe it was the saint that had did this. There must be some logical explanation why his leg is swelling up. Doctors couldn't figure it out. He puts on his wife. I said to his wife, I'm going to call her Iris. I said, Iris, listen, you go to your house and you go to where his father is sleeping. You bring you pick up that saint, put it in a bag, and find out, ask your husband, where was that tree? And you go and you bring it back and you leave an offering and whatever you do. She said, I'm going to do that. Lo and behold, I called her back a few days and I said, what did you do? And she said, listen, I brought the tree. I put him in the bag like you said. I brought it in. I found the tree where I forced my father-in-law to bring me to this tree. We brought the saint there. We placed the saint back. We made an offering. We went to a river. We cleansed ourselves and we went back home. And I said, okay, and how is your husband? And she said, do you believe that his swelling has gone down considerably? It's like a miracle that his legs are getting back. So after that, I assumed he learned his lesson. I had talked to him afterwards and he said, listen, I learned my lesson. I'll never disrespect any tree or let anyone in my presence disrespect the tree. I'm going to end this with another account, okay? And this was a very interesting account because this was not a client, but this was a colleague of mine. He was a voodoo priest. He is a voodoo priest. And he was happily married at the time. And they have 3 beautiful children. So he was a voodoo priest, an Ungan. He's from Europe. And I remember that he had told me that they had gone into the forest. And there they found this majestic tree. And under this majestic tree, they found a clovers. And under the tree, he found a whole bunch of 4-leaf clovers. And he's like, wow. And we believe that 4-leaf clovers bring luck, okay? Well, think about this. So he grabbed these 4-leaf clovers and he brought them home and he showed me them and he showed me in pictures. And I said to this voodoo priest, this Ungan, he's from Europe. I said to him, did you make an offering to the tree before you grabbed those 4-leaf clovers or those clovers? He said, oh, you know what? I forgot. It just didn't pop into my mind. And I said to him, well, you shouldn't have done that, To end this story, not to go too far and too personal, shortly after that, the marriage crumbled to the point where they literally got divorced. He's remarried, she's remarried, but at the time they were a very loving couple. And what really surprised me about that story or that situation is that we believe that no matter whenever you go, so we're taught that whenever you go into the forest, you always make an offering at the entrance of the forest, to appease the spirits. Whenever you take anything from the forest, especially spiritual people, we must leave a form of offering. We cannot take anything from nature. To the spirits, the elemental spirits, they view that as disrespectful, as sacrilege. They view that as you're stealing from them, you're taking from them. And most elemental spirits do not take kind to humans disrespecting or taking from them. So I just wanted to end that right there. Another thing is, do not ever, we believe in our traditions that whenever we take a wood or to make a walking stick, especially a spiritual person, we must make a lot of offerings to the tree. We make a lot of sacrifices to the tree. We do not take anything from the forest without making an offering. And if you ever come across an offering by a tree, you do not touch that, okay? Another thing is, whenever in many spiritual people in the Caribbean and in Brazil believe that whenever you see the ceiba throwing its shadow, you have to walk around the shadow. You don't walk over the shadow. That is also viewed as very disrespectful, unless you're going into the grove or into the tree itself to make some form of offering. But if you're just passing by, you walk around the shadow of the ceiba. To walk over the shadow of the sacred tree is also a form of disrespect. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like, please subscribe. If you have not subscribed, please hit that notification bell button to receive notifications, and leave your comments, and also share my video. This is Sancista Brujo Luis. Lo quiero mucho. Ciao, 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 ciao. Ciao. See you soon. See you again.